Grady Powell, host of Forged in Fire.
Kyle Mann.
I'm Jay Warner Wallace.
Kira Davis.
It's Ben Adams.
Hey, this is Dave Baker.
Carrie Pomeroli.
This is Mike Reiner.
This is Ethan Nicole.
This is Leia Morgan.
It's Graham Parker, the 5th GP, and this is why you should never
How I got suckered in.
I'm so embarrassed that I'm here.
You're wasting your time. You got better things to do.
never listen.
Those darling, yummy Reverend and the Reprobate.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Reverend and the Reprobate. My name is Lucas Pinkard. I'm a real life pastor. Along with me is the man, the myth, the legion. As always, it's the big man, Dan Flip Gibson. What's up, Big Dan?
Well, I think I earned my title of Flip.
Okay,
this
come on.
last week.
Yeah.
Ooh, I haven't told my dad.
Okay. All right.
We'll just go into it.
So let's go for it.
Got it fixed, but changing guitar strings on the Dreadnought Martin. It's a really nice acoustic guitar, and started restringing it. Realized that the saddle, this very important piece, was gone. Immediately flipped out. Well, first off, I went, "Oh, I'm for sure going to find it." Nope. Tore the whole living room up. This guitar will not function. Turns out this particular saddle on high-end guitars are made out of bone.
It is made out of bone,
and it's hand
camel
carved
bone often.
Yeah. So. Again, couldn't find it. Dug in the trash amidst, God knows what.
Right, all the goops.
Yeah, could not find it. Don't know where it is. So when God brought it to a guitar tech, he carved a new one. It plays great, but I definitely earned. And I think when I called you, I said I have a guitar emergency. I don't want to hear about flip.
Yeah, you said don't want any flip jokes.
I don't want any flip jokes. I just need information.
I just need get me through this.
FaceTime me
now. Yeah. Yep. So I can.
Am I crazy that this is missing the saddle? You said that's definitely missing the saddle.
How important is this? This is what you said.
Yeah.
I think there's a piece that goes here. How important is this?
I knew it.
Only if you don't want to play.
I knew it immediately.
Only if you wanted to make the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got it fixed. It plays great again, but oh man, that was a devastating day.
It was
again. We're all fixed.
Yeah. In other news, Levi is still crying. Like we have a little bit better idea at this point, like what the different cries are, but
it's still just constant.
All the
air
time.
Sirens.
Yeah, like as soon as he wakes up, and I've got like a 60-second window that is either like with the first couple of noises. If I can get him up and his mom up, I can keep there from being consternation in the house. But if it's like one of these times where like she needs to sleep, the bottle warmer does not work fast enough to satiate the baby before the scream starts. I really believe this is why dads can't hear. That it has nothing to do with old age or anything like that. It's from like the 30 minutes that they have to deal with their kids prior to feeding because we have to use the bottle warmer and all that stuff. And it's just right here. And it's this frequency that I'm noticing I'm paying less and less and less attention to, not because I don't care about my son, but because those areas of my hearing are diminishing. They're just going right away.
Well, we're pulling for you that Levi learns communication pretty quickly.
Yeah, he did bust my lip the other day because he's not real good. His head's huge.
Someone should.
And he's not real good with his head yet. And so he's doing this thing where like when the lights get turned on, he wants to look at the lights. And so he'll push away from me and he'll get his... He'll get his head way back, and then he'll start to come in. But that head is like 2/3 of his body weight, right? And he's 12 pounds now, so we're talking like 8-pound head. Like you and him have the same amount of head, and he just came crashing like right into me and busted my lip.
But my beard's better.
Yeah, for now. But he looks at me and starts crying, and I'm looking at him, and he's got blood on his head, and I was like, oh crap! And I wiped the blood off of his head, and I immediately realized I was like. Oh, this is my blood. I'm bleeding. You're crying. On today's episode of The Reverend and the Reprobate, we have back with us for the fourth time the face of Forged in Fire historic weapons recreation specialist David Baker. He talks to us about his 9,000-mile motorcycle trip across the U.S. and back.
He makes a great sword sound.
He does with
unsheathing a I don't know what it was. It was so fast. Swing. You guys will see.
Yeah, there it is. It was just right there. Just had a pirate sword sitting on the dining room table.
We get his thoughts on The Princess Bride.
We do. We get his thoughts on The Princess Bride. And he talks to us a little bit about his new business endeavor where you will have the opportunity to own a blade made by David Baker for the first time ever, that it's not going to be a prop. It's not going to be something that's used for the show. It's not going to be some kind of private piece that's made for several $1,000s. These are blades that are made for consumers so that you actually can purchase a blade made by David Baker for the first time ever. Links to all that stuff is in the show notes. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel. If you're continuing to follow us on YouTube and are following our 100 episode celebration, thanks for doing that. And for those who aren't, every weekday at noon, we're going live with a Rev and Rep replaying one of our old episodes. We're live in the chat talking about it. We would love to have you join us for that. And a very special thanks to our new subscribers as we're getting closer and closer to that magic number of 1,000 on YouTube. And to a lady named Tina Ryder. Tina's commented on a lot of our stuff. She's been a fan for a while and has rallied some other people to follow. So thanks, Tina. And for all of y'all out there that have been watching.
Be like Tina.
Be like Tina. We need more Tinas. Be more like Tina. And without any further ado,
David Baker. Again, amazing. Every single time.
On our sweet, clean airwaves today, FWIP is our first 4-time guest. It is the guest that has, it's the guest that's most consistently made me happy on the show. It's the only guest that my wife is interested in whenever we have him on. And he was the guy that really kicked things off for us. It is the fabulous, the talented, it's the historic weapons recreation specialist, the curator of men's fashion himself, David Lane Baker. What's going on, man?
And Reverend now.
Oh yeah, this is true. Talk to us about your online ordination.
Were you anointed with oil online?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. Well. Yeah. Online oil. I'm not sure what that is, but somehow just graphic visual images ran through my brain.
Just so many.
You're welcome.
So Ben from the show,
yes,
and this lovely lady Heather were getting married. They asked if they could do it here on my farm,
right?
Which is something that eventually I want to turn the farm itself into as an event space. So it was a perfect, great practice run. We'll see how it works. And then they gave me the honor. Must trust me because I never would have let me of officiating the wedding.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's above and beyond, and I love them both, and it was so nice of them to do that. So I figured I'd try to see if I could legally officiate the wedding, and so I went with the American Marriage Ministries.
Wow!
That got their kit, and my
AMM
certificate says I'm an ordained minister with the American Marriage Ministries.
The prestigious AMM.
Yeah, well, so prestigious that here in Lancaster County you can't do any marriage. The county is very firm, and it goes through a lot of Virginia, but you have to be affiliated with a brick and mortar church to do weddings in the county. So, though
gotcha.
I still officiated, I just couldn't do it legally. I couldn't sign the certificate and say, ta-da.
I prefer Rick and Morty
churches. I guess I could have got on my boat in the river and claimed to be a captain.
That's true. Like, what's maritime law in Virginia look like for marriages in Lancaster
I love
County?
This question.
I don't know. Well, here, look, I'm actually reading a book, Pirates of the Chesapeake Bay.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'm sure I'll come across maritime law in there somewhere. But.
Yeah, you need to. We need to hook you up. So this guy we just interviewed is a guy named Ren Thomas. He was a captain of a boat that was like transporting oil. He was taken captive by pirates in Nigeria for like 18 days.
Yeah. Look, they're not nearly as Nigerian pirates. Not nearly as romantic as
no. They're not as swashbucklers as they are.
Yeah,
swashbuckling pirates, and of course our fantasy view of pirates are these rebels out to do their own thing, and it's a lot uglier than that. Yeah. But it's a time period, the early 1600s to the mid 1700s, or up to about 1800. That interests me because of all the developments and changes in swords, at least European swords, and all the interactions internationally through different countries where swords are if not the primary, at least the secondary weapon.
Weren't they mostly, at least they're pictured in movies, mostly being rapiers, right?
I mean,
with with the pirates.
Yeah, the pirates.
Yeah, which is kind of silly.
Yeah.
If you've ever been on the tall ship, there's nothing but ropes and rigging and things that if you have a sword that's longer than 24 inches, you're going to have trouble swinging it. Especially if you're below decks. That's a good point. I mean, on those big gunboats.
There's a lot of things to get in the way of you and a sword, so you want to keep it shorter.
So are you trying to tell me that
big overhead swing, boing, I hit the rope, I'm dead. So, not good.
So
not good.
You're telling me that the likelihood the Dread Pirate Roberts actually had that rapier and was willing to fight Inigo with it is probably pretty low?
What a glorious fight scene, though.
I'm telling you that the likelihood that Gilder existed and that there was a Dread Pirate Roberts about that.
Okay. I do have a question. I got a question about that scene,
it's one of those things. It goes across the board. You need the right tool for the job, period.
Right.
And when you're in close quarters, you need something that's smaller. And, something like, something about that big.
Oh, man, I love it when you're
everybody's got a cup sitting around on their dining room table, don't they?
You and Ben have to be the most entertaining.
Wait. Yeah. Listen. See,
that's beautiful.
It even makes the right sound.
Dude, I got to say the first one was perfect.
Full-on movie sound.
Yes. Yeah. We talked to him and Ben about stuff, and they're like, hold on, let me pull out this knife or this billet Ben pulled out a billet that was like 3 inches. He's like, hold on just a second. We just hear him rummaging in the background. And he's like, this is a billet I made out of my own iron. We're like, what are you going to make out of it? He's like, nothing. It's garbage.
So, but I do think that we just stumbled upon that you are a major Princess Bride fan with the pulling out of your pocket with the Gilder reference. So I am curious, what do you think?
Okay, look, I love that movie. I hate that sword fight.
No.
Oh, yes.
No.
Why?
Which sword fight do you hate?
What's that?
Which sword fight do you hate? Because there's two big ones.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, the Dread Pirate Roberts and
Inigo?
Mandy Patinkin.
The first one. Oh, man.
Hold on.
Have you seen the...
Here's why.
Yeah, I want to hear why.
Yeah, I got to know this.
It's a great dance number.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a terrible sword fight.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to sit and watch that and not get caught up in this fun romp that's going on.
Right.
And break down the sword fighting that's going on, which is absolute garbage. There's no jeopardy in that fight at all because no one's trying to kill each other. They're playing.
So basically, how many kill strokes did they miss?
0. I mean, there aren't any kill strokes. That's just it. They're doing ticky tacky back and forth. Classic swashbuckling movie nonsense.
Right.
Kind of like you were saying, it was a romantic. It's a romantic.
It's so clean and it's so dialed in that so many people refer to this as, oh, that's a great sword fight. It's a terrible sword fight. It's a wonderful dance and it tells a beautiful story.
Yeah.
But it's not a sword fight.
I understand.
So
that breaks my heart a little bit, but I understand completely logically.
But I do think Dave's
movie with me. It's terrible. It's awful.
Well, I do think Dave has a unique perspective on that because he is both a sword fighter and a dancer.
There were no kill strokes because none were attempted. Is kind of the point,
right? But also, as a sword fighter and a dancer, he can comment and tell us, yes, it was a beautiful dance, also a terrible sword fight.
As an expert in both.
Here's the thing.
Right.
It does exactly what it needs to do in the story, which is advance the story and tell the story, which is the point of putting fights, other than gratuitous violence.
Sure.
You put a fight in a play or in a movie to advance the storyline.
What is the
hero gets beat up in the first fight, and now he's got to go out for vengeance, or he's got to go training montage. Oh, look how good I'm getting now, and then he goes and faces that guy again. Oh, come on,
right? No, as soon as you say montage,
every movie. I mean, come on.
As soon as you say montage, I think South Park.
Now I'm out, and I'm going to have revenge on everybody. But first, I'm going to meet this scrappy sensei on the streets of Los Angeles who's going to take me to his dojo
for 2 weeks.
And, whatever.
Yeah.
So what?
As soon as you put on a gray hoodie and really fast-paced synthesizer music, now you're getting pumped up.
So
It's
what?
gonna be a montage.
And pull a katana out of something. I don't even know where they keep those things. But
So what in film do you think is a excellent example of a sword fight, if not Princess Bride?
Okay. Realistic examples of sword fights. That's tough. The Duelists, Harvey Keitel and Carradine.
Yep.
Very, very realistic fights. Queen Margot.
Okay.
French film about the Medici wedding. Unreal.
I've got to look that one up.
King
Arthur versus the Black Knight.
Monty Python.
My arm's not long enough to slap you, son. Look, I mean, there are elements in all of them that are good, but when you say realistic, there are changes that happen. You don't fence with people; you try to kill them. I mean, that's the point of a sword fight, is to try to kill the other person, not.
It should be short,
not
right?
Not show them up with your clever moves or twirl your sword around before the fight starts or whatever.
How long?
I mean, as soon as that guy twirled his sword, I just go stab him in the neck. Nice twirling. I'm not ready.
How long should an effective sword fight take?
Look, two people who are evenly matched
trying to kill each other,
it can take a while, because there's a period at the beginning of any fight with two people who've never fought before where you're feeling things out. You're kind of checking their distance. You're checking how aggressive they are. You're checking your own distance to them. You're seeing how they move, just like a boxing match. But the difference between that and a boxing match is that you screw up and let one of those jabs in, you're probably pretty much done.
Right.
Now, I've been stabbed, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, where the blade went into me or through an arm or whatever, and it didn't stop anything. Thrusts, it's very interesting that you can be stabbed and keep moving and not think about the thing that just went into your arm.
Did you say one went through your arm?
What's that?
Did you say one of them went through your arm?
Well, it didn't come out all the way through, but it was, I don't know, 4 inches in. Yeah.
Good.
At a diagonal.
Was that a self-stabbing?
Yeah, and that was good. That was with an unsharpened theatrical blade.
Oh no!
So it hurt.
The wussiest of all blades.
But the point I'm making is, and it's actually in I think it's in Fabrice, in one of the treatises from the Elizabethan period. Mm-hmm. He says the man who's been stabbed, make sure you finish the kill, basically. Rough translation is because you can poke him a bunch of times, and if you didn't hit anything that's vital, that's going to kill him, his adrenaline might be high enough that he's going, so what?
Oof.
I mean, he might already be dead or going to be dead as soon as he bleeds out internally or externally or whatever. But that doesn't mean he's not going to keep fighting. Right. And you see that again and again with bullet wounds.
Or when you chop a rattlesnake's head off.
Oh, well,
what?
Yeah, that's a decentralized nervous system. That's a little bit of a different thing. I mean, I know some reptiles, believe me, who would probably be dancing around.
Oh, man.
I also know some chickens that would do the same thing.
What a perfect retort. Well, that's a decentralized nervous system.
Never get into a battle of wits with a historic weapons recreation specialist when podcasts are on the line.
Excellent.
Yep.
You guys know what I'm saying, though.
Right.
You hear these war stories where guys are just shot to crap, but they're still running out and saving their buddies because their adrenaline level is so high that the trauma of a gunshot wound, as long as it didn't break bone or hit a vital organ, your brain can shut this stuff off when you're trying to stay alive. And that's there are numerous. There's a book. What is it? Gentlemen, Swords and Pistols, and it describes a bunch of duels that happened in the South around the time of the Civil War, and it's got a few of those where both of them died after the fight,
right?
So realism realism's a very ugly thing. And we're just talking about duels. If you're talking about in a bladed combat situation, well, I hit this guy. He starts to go down. My buddy next to me is fighting that guy. I just reach over and stab that guy in the neck because he ain't watching me. So you've got a 365-degree attack coming at you. It's not like guys ran out into the battlefield and go, okay, I'll take the guy with the red crest. Yay.
So
someone fight.
Yeah. Are you telling me that the rules of my LARPing club, which don't allow that, do not really help with actual combat?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the SCA the SCA does a lot more bonk on the heads, but the biggest difference between martial sports,
maritime,
and combat is, the meanest guy wins. There's not any rules,
right?
I mean, you throw a judicial duel together, that's fine. It's a judicial duel unless they say, oh, it's a duel to the death, because you don't want people to die. You have rules about dueling because you don't want people to die. You have rules of LARPing in boxing arenas, in MMA fights. I mean, why isn't it okay to grab a guy by his jaw and his hair and rub him up and down the fence in an MMA fight?
It used to be, right?
It's incredibly effective. I remember, what was his name? Remember Joe Sando?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Master of Joe San. He got nutted.
Mm-hmm.
That guy had him all wrapped up, and that guy started just punching him in the balls.
Yep.
Until his eyes rolled up in his head and he vomited on the floor.
Yeah, Tank Abbott did it until he couldn't take any pain anymore. And then Hoist Gracie, I think, if I remember correctly, was fighting another guy that was in a gi that was a jiu-jitsu specialist, and he had long hair, and Hoist just grabbed him by the hair and used that guy's, manipulated the head in order to put him in a submission. But that was also the reason why UFC couldn't be fought anywhere, and why, in the early days of it, everybody was like, this is brutal. Grotesque. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, you put a finger in the guy's mouth and fish hook him. Yeah. You want someone to shut down quick, just grab a cheek. It's amazing.
Yeah. The gentlemanly fight, those are not things we do.
What I'm saying is that reality in movies, there are movies that depict that, where the violence is over the top. A friend of mine, Luc LaFontaine, who's a fight coordinator, he has choreographed some of the ugliest violence. It's great. It's great storytelling.
Right.
Yeah, it's
in that there's a no holds barred. He did one where the guys, I don't know, it's like a 3-story fight. The guy's just got a hammer, and all these guys are running at him, and he just matches everybody with this hammer, and just ugly stuff. Like, this guy's still trying to get up, whack him in the knee.
Dang!
Hammer to the ball peen, hammer to the knee. So,
it's effective. It's interesting. I just saw a clip from the behind the scenes of Return of the King.
Yes.
Where Christopher Lee was talking about Christopher Lee.
Yes, Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Sauron.
Yep. Was talking. It was Peter Jackson also talking about. Christopher Lee's got this background in the British Secret Service. In fact, James Bond was based off of him. He almost married a Swedish princess. There's all these crazy things.
He's also like a great fencing guy. He had real skills.
He met J.R.R. Tolkien. All these things are beside the point. But he played Saruman, and in the book, he gets stabbed. He gets stabbed in the back from Wormtongue, Jackson had said, "Hey, I want you to get stabbed, and I want you to say ha, or something.
Right.
I want you to react." And he said, "That's not the sound that someone makes when you get stabbed in the back."
Yikes!
And he said he said the sound that someone makes when you get stabbed in the back is the wind leaving your body, is the breath leaving. It's So he kind of insisted on doing that, and Jackson said, "Okay." Yeah. So that made it to the. I mean, I think it got cut from the theatrical.
It's not the whole Saruman and Wormtongue after the battle is kind of out of the whole deal. So.
Yeah, but I found that interesting.
They never do the part where they go back to the Shire. And they're there.
Yeah,
but Christopher Lee knows what it sounds like when someone gets stabbed in the back.
So much so he was giving the director notes.
Like that, you kind of have to step back and go, okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
Can I get you a drink? Can I get you tea? Please. No, look, I mean, I know a lot of guys who have combat experience, and most of them really don't get into talking about it much.
Right.
But yeah, I've worked with a few who said that would,
it's not how that goes.
Yeah, it's not how that goes.
Yeah. The current host of Forged in Fire, Grady Powell's got a lot of that. And
well, yeah, Grady was a Green Beret.
And
again, we don't tell war stories like that.
Yeah, and that's when we had him on last year after you. So you were super gracious and brought him and Ben on the show. We had an absolute blast.
The guys are great.
And so we did a one-on-one with Grady and put it out for like our Veterans Day special.
Cool.
And it was a ton of fun getting to talk with him and getting to know him. But when it came to like the combat stories, he wasn't. We didn't press, but it was obvious. He was like, I'll tell you about what my history in the military was, but we're not talking details. And I have a tremendous amount of, I think, not just respect for that, but there is a certain amount of danger kind of in that mystery where you're like, all right, well, if you've done things you don't want to tell me about, then
understood.
Yeah, what is the most friendly topic I can think of? Let's talk. How's your dog? Is your dog doing great? Right? You know.
Did you have a Cabbage Patch Kids
in your experience myself? I mean, I really can't talk to it, but knowing people who have had that experience, sometimes it's starting to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That sets off a whole different thing, and just staying out of that rabbit hole completely is a lot smarter, safer, and a lot better for your mental health than reliving certain things.
Yeah, I understand. Well, how about this? I would love to go back.
Here we go
to the very beginning with Ben Abbott's wedding on your farm.
Yes.
I would love to hear what you can tell about it. You know, was it an intimate affair? Was it a big
there's
wedding?
Pictures all over the internet.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it was. It was. Well, the interesting thing was, it happened in the eye of a storm.
What?
Of course.
The hurricane came through.
As it was foretold.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
According to the bones.
In the ancient tomes, we read. Yes.
And Abbott shall thenceforth be married.
They set up a big tent on, I think it was Wednesday.
Okay.
Or Thursday. We're watching the news from Florida where towns are getting flooded and everything's, and we're watching the weather report. They're saying, no, it's going to be pouring rain. It's going to be pouring rain. So Ben and Heather opted to add another 15 feet to the tent. And we cleared out my entire shop, moved everything to the back of it, turned that into a sort of a bar and hors d'oeuvre area. I put in a French drain a couple of weeks before, so the place that's always a puddle wouldn't be a puddle. Friday night, it's gloomy, it's kind of cold. We do the rehearsal, and as we're going to the rehearsal dinner, it starts raining. And by the time we're done with the rehearsal dinner in the town that's just right around the corner, it's pouring. I mean, it's coming down sideways. Found a lot of leaks in my house that day.
No.
Fixed them the following week, but so we're all like, well, we'll do the best we can. And a lot of people had come in from out of town and everything else. So following day, wake up. Well, it's not raining. It's kind of cloudy. By 10 o'clock, the clouds start breaking up. By 1 o'clock, it's absolutely beautiful. Wedding happens at 4 o'clock. Weather's absolutely perfect. The last shuttle left my place at 2 a.m, dragging the last of the folks, the last of the hangers on. Said, "People, I got to bed." And 20 minutes later, it started to rain.
Wow!
What time?
2.5 days.
That's crazy.
So I mean, it was just it was timed right. It was as I like to say, the old gods got involved.
Yeah.
Were you?
You got a sacrifice or two, but
that's the French trains for.
Talk about those. It was like I said. It just turned out perfectly. It was a beautiful wedding. She came down. I started crying when I saw her coming down the aisle. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
Which was funny because that started her father crying, who was walking her down the aisle. Which started.
I think we both would cry if we saw you cry too.
Oh, I'm a big softy when things like this. I mean, like I said, I love those two. I love their kid. I'm his
adorable,
official, non-related crazy uncle.
So. That's perfect.
That's exactly what I want to be.
Yeah,
I kind of am in a lot of ways.
Everybody's got that Uncle Dave or Uncle somebody.
Yeah.
How are we related to him? Well, we're not.
Yeah, we're not.
Uncle so-and-so.
And the crazy uncle's always wearing a kilt.
That is true.
I wasn't wearing a kilt this time. I was in a cowboy hat and a frock coat. But
dang it!
Now it's perfect.
Wrong.
No, I was in my country preacher best.
Yeah,
excellent.
Were you dressed? Were you dressed like William Wallace or Doc Holliday on this occasion? Because those, I think,
was full Doc Holliday.
That's where the pendulum is for David Baker. He's either Doc Holliday or William Wallace whenever it comes to formal events.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, I mean, and that's,
both of those characters so cool.
It's not a bad look either way.
And honestly, that's not a bad sword fight.
Wallace?
No, sorry, not Wallace. Wallace is terrible. I was thinking of Liam Neeson.
Roy. Rob Roy. Rob Roy, I think is what.
Rob Roy, yeah.
I need to go back and watch that. Speaking of old movies that I've gone back and watched, have you seen Willow?
Oh yeah, sure. I just started watching the TV show.
What do you think?
So of course I had to watch the other one.
Yeah. And
art direction.
What are your thoughts
some
so
of
far?
Some of the effects are kind of weak because it's just from the time period, but
right.
But I think it's fun. It's good storytelling.
What do you think about Mad Mardigan? Because he is also a sword
what
fighter.
Do I think about it? I've always loved.
Mad Mardigan is not a sword fighter. He's
He is. He's the greatest swordsman to ever have lived.
He's a sword. Yeah, he's a sword flipper. Like he just has the one flip move that he does with a sword, and that's it.
Yeah.
So what?
That's all I need. So what? Val has been great in anything he's ever done.
That's true.
I agree. I love Val.
Show me the bad Val Kilmer moment. Really, I mean, it's like.
Also,
I used to audition for like everything he auditioned for, and never got anything he went to an audition for. So.
Did you audition for Batman? Because I think that might have been the one area where you could have beat him.
That was way post me, and they were not ever going to call me in for Batman. So.
Well, I'm just glad that Saoirse is back. I had a huge crush on her when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah. It's looking good. I mean, look, when was that movie?
88?
It was,
88, yep.
88. So that was the year my son was born. So that's, 34 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching.
She looks fantastic.
Well, there's a documentary called Light and Magic that's on Disney Plus that's talking about ILM. And like on the second to last episode, they talk about Willow, and they're talking to Ron Howard about it and about the transformation that the good witch goes through whenever Willow's like using the incantations in order to try to get her to turn from like a possum or whatever she is.
Right.
Man,
yeah, and
job.
like
I was trying to think of it too.
Right, and so like those.
I just watched it the other day.
So like those.
I can't remember Val's name, but I can remember that.
Yeah,
Mad Mardigan.
So those transitions, that was like the first time
Morta was the evil
that they'd ever used
queen.
Computer graphics to do anything like that at all. And even though, like you said, like the stuff doesn't hold up, but what Ron Howard's idea was is that they were going to do it all in stop motion.
Yeah.
And the guys at ILM were like, you should see this new trick we can do with these Pixar computers that we have. We think you're going to love it. And then he saw it and he was blown away.
When we say it doesn't hold up because of the time period,
sure,
there are things that. Have you watched Space Odyssey, the original 2001?
Yes. Yeah.
Have you watched it recently?
No. I mean, within the last 5 years.
That's all model work. That's all real stuff.
Yeah.
And it holds up perfectly.
Yeah, it's great.
I need to go back and watch it.
It's absolutely beautiful.
And
so everybody misses the joke in that movie when he's going to the moon. The list of rules for the toilet, the instructions.
Oh,
okay.
I'm gonna pull
when he's on the Pan Am thing.
There's
a scene with him sitting down, looking forward, really concerned, and there's on the wall is the rules for the zero gravity toilet.
Okay.
Or the instructions, not the rules. The instructions. For
all right. So
the use of the zero gravity toilet.
Dan, do you have them right here? Did you find the instructions for the zero gravity toilet?
Working on it.
Oh,
here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Passengers are advised to read instructions before use. The toilet is of standard zero gravity type. Depending on requirements, System A or System B can be used.
Boy, that's a lot of jargon.
Depress lever. I'm fast forwarding a little bit.
But this is nobody. It's never mentioned or anything.
It's very small print
clips.
too.
Yeah,
it's one of those little. It's 4 seconds, 5 seconds.
That's
of the movie.
Brilliant,
and it's a long list of how to use the toilet.
But if you look at his face, it's like, no, I need to use this now.
Yeah. Sorry, we're gonna miss the rules.
There's 4 steps to using the toilet before use.
Yeah,
don't get things started before you get past Rule 5. Okay?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like,
that's hilarious. Okay, so have you said
anyway,
you've watched?
Sorry.
Have you watched the first couple of episodes? That's us too. So have you watched the first couple of episodes of the new series, the new Willow series?
Yeah, the Willow thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Yeah. It's cute. I mean, it's cute. It was always a kid's thing. It's still a kid's thing.
Okay. See,
it's like the next generation. Oh my gosh, on my wedding night, now suddenly terrible things have happened. Now I have to run off and save the world. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
to stop a global evil.
Yeah, my wife and I were thinking. We were thinking the same thing, except for the Gales. Like the Gales seem way, way, way darker than the stuff in the original Willow. Like the bad guys in this one that come in and take Eric.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, but you can make scarier bad guys because you don't necessarily have to do all of it with makeup.
I do like the devil dogs. I don't remember what they're called, but they're back.
The rest.
Yeah.
Do mocap and draw everything on them. You can make them as scary as you want.
Which is that's true. They're wild looking in this. The bad
really
guys
cool.
are, and it's really, really intense. So
the only thing so
here we go.
I'm ready for this.
Yeah, it's a story. It's a storytelling thing that happens again and again and again, and it's here are the bad guys. There's the toothy guy. There's the whip guy. There's the arrow guy.
There's the big bold guy.
I always wanted to make a war film, like a World War II film, where they're sneaking up on the German bunker, and the captain goes, "All right, who's our knife guy?" And everybody looks at each other. And, well, we don't have a knife guy.
There's always a guy flipping a knife.
We don't have a knife guy.
In fact, most Saving Private Ryan, there's a guy that likes fighting with knives, and he's sitting there playing with it all. I get what you're saying.
In the Quentin Tarantino epic, right there, Brad Pitt is the knife guy.
Yep.
Right.
You always got the Bond guy, the knife guy, the psychopath,
Robin Hood
gun guy. The guy who carries the 30 cal over his shoulder. All that.
What's his name? Scarlet.
It's a
Scarlet
formula,
Witch.
No, Robin Hood.
And it works. It's fine. It works.
Will Scarlet.
It's like you get to the climactic moment. 8 guys pull out knives. Where's the machine gun guy? We got all the knife guys.
The machine gun guy is War Machine.
Yeah. What was the in these more historical epics, but prior to the machine gun? What was the machine gun guy before he had the machine gun? Is it just the axe guy? Is he the machine gun guy before there was the machine gun?
You either had the Winchester guy, or you had the long range, the sharps,
right?
50
sniper
caliber with the scope that's 9 feet long. That guy, the long range shot guy. Now that guy, the next one back was the archer guy.
Okay.
The longbow guy who could shoot the eye out of a sparrow while it flew through a cloud.
Yeah. Well, so Legolas is the machine gun guy for the Fellowship.
He does shoot pretty fast.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, I have Legolas problems, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Do you have Legolas problems? Like with the movie or just in general?
He has restless Legolas.
No. Here's the thing.
I'm ready.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
You run to the door and you open it. Liam Neeson standing there. He says, "Get the guns. We got to go." What do? You get the guns and you go.
Right.
Next morning, you open the door and Legolas is standing there. What's his name?
Orlando Bloom.
Orlando Bloom. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's standing there and he goes, "Get the guns. You have to. We got to go." You know what?
Why would Legolas respond like that?
No, that's what you would slap Legolas. Because
you slap Legolas.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. The elf shows.
Right.
There's nothing intimidating about him.
I got you.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be the sword master of all sword masters, and you'd still kind of go, "Yeah, skinny boy, go stand in the corner."
What you're saying is an attractive blonde with elf ears shows up, and there's no sense of urgency. Whereas Liam Neeson with a
even the
deep
Legolas
accent.
character with all his serious, stoicness.
Mm-hmm.
if Gimli were to say, son, we're going to wrestle, you'd go, oh, this is going to hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
When Strider goes, puts his hand on the sword, you might take a step back. Legolas does something, you go, shut the Are you still here?
and I can honestly say, as a pretty blonde without elf ears, that's I've gotten a lot of similar responses throughout the course of my life.
Well, okay, I mean, it's like, okay, in storytelling, we get back into the storytelling. When you got a 98-pound heroine, right?
That's a lot of heroin.
Throwing crazy martial arts moves on a guy who weighs 250 and is 7 inches taller, and she throws her legs around his neck and throws him to the ground. He just stand there and punch her in the head. She's
get off.
Yeah,
that she's never going to get the leverage.
Right,
it's not going to happen. So have that person do something else, like shoot him in the legs, then beat the crap out of it.
Which is why that's why I think Ming Na Wen is so convincing as Fennec Shand, is because she doesn't do that stuff. She was Fennec Shand. She was Agent May in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
This is the Mandalorian's friend.
in The Mandalorian, right? And she was in the Book of Boba Fett, right? Like, that's why she's so convincing in those roles.
She doesn't do the flips.
Right, like she does have an extensive martial arts background. She's great whenever they show her sparring and all that stuff.
She'll punch you.
Right, but if
also not a waif.
Right, and there's also like this moment where she'll shoot you also.
I mean, it's like,
yeah, but she has no qualms in any of the series that I've seen her in. Where like if the bigger guy gets close, she's like, oh no, pop. Done.
If I may, at the core of this argument is the example that Indiana Jones gives, where the guy comes out swinging sabers, and he just pulls out his gun and pops him.
Yeah,
right. Use your talent.
We're back to reality and fights in movies that are all fantasy. So I mean,
which by the way, the new trailer of Indiana Jones came out.
Yeah, and
the new trailer for the new Musketeer movie came out too.
I haven't seen that.
I haven't even.
It's gonna be good.
There's a new Musketeer movie.
Oh yeah, French made. It's
I
can't remember the production company, but
the French know the Musketeers.
It looks intense. Really intense.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check it out.
The French company is Cinema du Jour.
I mean, they still make epics with lots of people and costumes and all this stuff. I mean, they're really good at it. So
we
just animated. We got 8 guys on set.
Yeah, that's way easier. That's way easier to do. So I want to kind of hop topics here because I'm interested in doing a little bit of catch up since we haven't gotten to really chat with you in like a year, which is why we're so scattered. Like I realize we've been doing this like Rev and Rep Rewind on YouTube
because we all got squirrel brain. And
that's true. I want to make an excuse for us.
We don't go down the rabbit hole. We dive in.
Yes,
with rocket assisted packs. We go down the rabbit hole.
We're in the rabbit hole, and we just found each other and waved.
With pins on the grenades pulled.
Yeah, right.
It's bad. It's bad. And I'm the worst. Well, I'm like the ringleader.
We're happy to have you on, the worst. So I realized we haven't had Dave on in 2023, so I sent him a text and said, "Hey, we haven't had you on. We really need to get you on." And
we haven't had him on in 2023.
I got the text message that I expected of new phone who dis.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, it's Lucas from the Rev and Rep," and then he calls me, and I was like, "Oh my God, Dave Baker's calling me. I have to stop what I'm doing." So, which is my typical reaction. My wife is like, I think it's so cute when David Baker calls you, how excited you get. I'm like, well, thank you. So Dave and I chat and we work out for you to come on the show. One of the things I want to talk to you the most about, because it's fascinating me keeping up with you on Facebook as I am a top fan. What was so first off, what was the sort of driving force behind the 9,000-mile motorcycle trip you took? And what was that like? Because that is a long way to go on a bike.
Okay, since I started working on the show,
right
after maybe the 3rd season, while we're doing the show, you're just locked in. So our second buy was for 20 episodes, but they added another 10, so we were doing 30 episodes. And then the next season we did another 30, and then we did 40, and then we did 50, and now we're doing the last one was 25 plus a couple. So you're tied to being in the studio. precursor.
Yes.
We've been doing this show for 7 years now.
Yeah.
This is the longest job I've ever had in my life.
I can imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never done anything for
7 years is a long
including
time.
being married. I only did that for 6. So being a dad, I've done for that's the only thing I've done for multiple years.
Right.
So being tied to the show, I always try to do something at the end of the season that's just something epic for me.
Right.
Once it was hiking the 3 days on the Appalachian Trail and then hopping on a plane and going to Scotland for a couple of weeks. Another time it was I spent Christmas in Spain. I mean, it's just I feel this need to, when I've been trapped, to get out.
Yeah.
That's not trapped, but I have a wanderlust that's up in my brain that I can't get rid of.
You've made a commitment to remain in one location for a long time.
Yeah, and that starts to drive me nuts.
Yeah. Stir crazy.
So yeah, stir crazy with the COVID stuff, especially because our COVID regulations. I'd worked with a girl for like 4 or 5 months before I ever saw her face.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's how weird it is. And since then, I've run into people or had people send me pictures and say, "Oh, I was, so and so on this." Man, I never saw you without a mask.
Wow, that's crazy.
So when the show was finished, I had been in a relationship that had broken up maybe a month and a half before, and I just needed to do something huge. I'd been talking about riding across country for years. So I went and bought a new motorcycle, as you do when you go through a breakup.
Absolutely.
Buy a new motorcycle, ride across country.
Something for daddy.
So I called my cousins. I said, "Hey, if I get there somewhere around 8 days, are you guys going to be around? Can I crash there for a few days before I come back?" I said, "Yeah, great. Come on. We can't wait to see you." Hopped on the motorcycle and headed west. Rode the part of the Appalachian Trail, not the Appalachian, the Blue Ridge Parkway. Rode the Tail of the Dragon, which is a big thing in motorcycle. It's like 13 miles, but there's 300 and something curves.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And on that one road. Honestly, if you've ever ridden Malibu Canyon out in California, there's a lot more curves there. But
right.
and it's 40 something miles long. So, but we had the motorcycle almost break down on me. Met guys at the Harley dealership. Had a great time with them. Rode.
Now, did you ride a Harley or were you riding an Indian this time?
No, I was on a Harley. I bought a Harley. The Indian was in the shop.
Okay.
Or needing to go to the shop, hadn't gone to the shop yet. And I just kind of, like I said, I went through a breakup. And
So what did you get? That's what I want to know.
I got an 05 Springer, Softail Springer Classic.
Okay, that's what you rode on for 9,000 miles?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Good grief. Those
Not
things,
the right bike to ride for 9,000.
How much Excedrin did you bring?
Yeah, no kidding. That thing handles like a wash tub, too.
No, they don't. Oh, God, it handles beautifully. It's fantastic bike.
With the Springer front end?
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Okay.
It was wonderful. I put a windscreen on it, which looks terrible on the Springer, but
right. But it protects you from the wind.
By a grasshopper, which I did at 60 or 70 miles an hour.
That's not fun.
Well, I got copyright in the lip.
Oh.
And when I got to the gas station, I'm fueling up. This guy's like, the guy behind the counter is like, I'm like, what? I'm grasshopper leg in my beard. I'm like, oh. Didn't taste good either.
No.
So yeah, it was an absolutely amazing trip out there.
It was pouring down rain when you passed through our neck of the woods.
It's really interesting. One of the things you learn is what each state smells like.
I've noticed that too.
We got to ask him the controlled rowdiness question then.
For sure.
It's a weird thing. But got out, rode with some interesting people, met some interesting people along the road, and spent some hours on the road with a few people. Got out there, spent time with the family. It was fantastic, and then turned around and started to come back, and that's where the rails sank in the mud.
Yeah.
I didn't go off the rails. The rails just weren't there. So the first day out of California, riding across, maybe the second day. Well, anyway, I'm on the road. It's one of those roads that just goes miles and miles and miles. I think it was in, what was it? I don't remember where it was. Anyway,
probably
doesn't matter.
Nantucket.
Endless road, and I can see this guy. I can see a motorcycle on the side of the road, and I figure, well, I'll just stop and see if this guy needs help. And his helmet, the helmet's laying on the ground, and the motorcycle's parked on the road, and he's way off the road in the weeds. I'm like, hey, dude, you need some help? You okay? He goes, I can't get back on the bike. I can't do it. I can't get back on the bike.
Oh,
I'm
no.
like, okay, let's take a deep breath and tell me what happened. So it seems that the wind had been gusting, and you've got these semis passing you doing 80 miles an hour plus.
Right.
A gust of wind hit him, and he bounced his shoulder off the truck.
Ooh.
He said his shoulder hit the side of the truck. But didn't lose control, managed to get to the side of the road, and he just had a freak out.
No doubt.
Yeah, but to him, that was a near-death experience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we talked for a while. I got him back on the bike. We rode for probably 30 miles together before he hit his turn.
Yeah.
And I just said, look, I'll be behind you on the inside. You ride right on the outside.
Yep.
I'll just block for you. They'll stay away from us. You just pick the speed, and we'll get through this. So yeah, I mean, he just
that's awesome.
I get it. Coming down the hill from Lake Tahoe on the California side. Coming down 80, if you've ever been on that road, it's a 3-lane highway that's a concrete highway, and the slow lane, which I'm in because I'm on a 5-speed, 05 Springer, is rutted out so I've got these big, huge swales in it from the chains on the trucks in the winter.
Yep.
They've just dug into the concrete. So your tires want to track back into that the whole time. I thought I was going to die halfway down that mountain.
Now,
so anyway,
does that have a carburetor?
What's that?
Does your 05, was that a carburetor or was that the fuel injected? Because I think that was the first year.
Injected 05.
Yeah, because I was going to say that was like the first year they did that.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
So the next day I'm going up to, I was going to go up to Yellowstone, ride through Yellowstone and come down.
See Kevin Costner.
And I started calling around to find a campsite or a hotel. I can't find a campsite or a hotel. So I said, screw it. I'll do Yellowstone another time. I'm just going to go to Deadwood, cut lower and go across to Deadwood.
Right.
So I make it to Deadwood. That night, the next morning I wake up to, it's going to rain all day. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll just stay in Deadwood for a day. And then I hear the reports out of Yellowstone that was the night of the flood in Yellowstone.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
So I would have been in the middle of the flood in Yellowstone on a motorcycle with nowhere to stay.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been wretched.
The guy, when they say man found in tent, wrapped in, tent cloth down the river, would have been me.
A little bloated.
So
yeah,
the sun breaks. It's a beautiful day. I go to Mount Rushmore, see that.
Right.
So now I'm heading out. I've seen what I need to see. I'm tired and I really just want to go home. But I'm still looking at 5.5 days of riding. So I'm cutting across South Dakota, and it's all green because it's June. It's just turned June, so it's just this absolutely gorgeous. It's like you're on this giant golf course, but the road is like dead straight. The trucks are going 80 miles an hour and the wind's blowing. So a truck blew a tire in front of me.
Ooh.
If you've ever seen a semi lose a tire,
it's just like shredding and throwing shrapnel at you.
That when you're a quarter mile behind and you're on a motorcycle. Just about myself that time.
What do you do? Do you slow down? Do you speed up?
Close my eyes.
If you can.
Yeah.
Hope nothing hit me.
Yeah,
some stuff bounced off the screen, but
dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
Truck goes off that way.
So get a screen.
There was a whirlwind, a dust devil that was coming across the grass, and I didn't know what it was. All I saw was the grass parting like the Red Sea, but there's no dust, so you don't see the wind.
Oh
You just see
man.
the grass opening up like this.
You see the
Again,
effects of
that
the
hit
wind.
the truck that was in front of me, moved it almost all the way across the lane.
Whoa.
Then hit me, almost dumped me, and the guy behind me, almost he almost took me out. So then now I'm 2 down. This is just one day. Then a pipe bounced out of a trailer in the oncoming traffic, bounced twice on the road and buried itself in the grass like a spear, not 40 feet in front of me. And I'm just going like, I'm gonna die.
This was it. The last ride of David Baker.
Now it's beautiful riding. Don't get me wrong. It's terrifying because there are a lot of places on the road that they were working. So you'd be in one lane with no shoulder and cars coming the other way with cones in between. And all I'm thinking is one person clips a cone, that cone's taking me out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, wake up the next day, the wind's blowing, so I ride the next day at an angle like this through the entire day.
That's hard on the body.
Well, and hard on the bike. The next day I'm riding and I look at my tire and it's gone completely bald. And it just riding sideways, I just ground all the rubber off of it. So I make it to the Harley dealership at the end of the day. It turns out this is like one of the hottest days Indiana has ever had. And I'm riding and make it like right into Kentucky, I think, to go to this Harley dealership. And I go through the door. And the guy goes, "Can I help you?" It's like they're right before closing. And I just said, "I ran out of tire." The guy looked at me and he goes,
David Baker?
"Here, have a water and maybe sit down." He knew I was just about gone. So replaced the tire, came home. The last day I had 9 hours of riding and some of the most beautiful riding through Kentucky, West Virginia, into Virginia. 45 minutes from home, it starts to rain. And I'm like, nope, I'm just riding through the rain.
Yeah.
Then the lightning starts. I'm like, no, I'm going home. Then the wind starts. I'm like, I'm going home. I was full Lieutenant Dan mode. I'm screaming at all the gods, old Dew and every other one of them going, I'm going to sleep in my own bed or die. I don't care. I mean, this is after 21 days being away from home.
Right. Yeah.
16 days of riding and probably averaging 9 hours a day.
That's
I'm just crazed. And the last thing I had to come across here in Whitestone, there's a bridge. It's about 1.5 miles long. Mm-hmm. It's 2 lanes. It gets high in the middle as the bridges down here over the rivers do. And the wind's going, and I mean, it's lit up. Talked about Pirates of the Caribbean. The lightning's going, and you can see everything when the lightning flashes, and then it's black, and the rain's going sideways. And I'm like, I'm going to go over this bridge. Now I know I'm going to die. I get over the bridge, and I'm fine. It's like, yeah, I made it. And as I'm coming through town, it clears up. Sky opens up, sun comes out. I'm like, oh my God. I ride into my driveway and deer jumped out in front of me. Almost dumped it right.
Oh, dang.
Right back into Lieutenant Dan mode.
Right.
Well, I'm glad you made it home.
But no, it was like a crazy epic trip. It was one of those things that, I mean, I was completely on the wrong sized motorcycle for it.
Right.
I should have been on something, a big dresser or something like that. But the things I saw that I would never have seen because I rode so many back roads. Mm-hmm. I mean, the whole trip out, I tried to stay off all the major freeways, highways going out there. I mean, I was stuck on 40 for a while, but that's just because that's the only way you can get into California from Texas, where I was.
Right. Yeah, you rode through North Texas in a pretty big
valley,
storm.
And rode over 4 8,000 foot passes.
Oh wow.
Where in June there was still snow up in the passes. It was nuts. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Cool.
Well, but I've done it.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it again.
It sounds like if one was wanting to, like you mentioned, having wanderlust, being stuck in one location, wanting to get out, you got what you wanted.
Right.
I am curious for again, with getting out and wanting to process mentally and emotionally, where did you do the most of that? Was it on the relaxing trip down, or the fighting against death and nature and God on the way home?
No, I think it's on the way out. I think by the second day. So the first day was kind of getting down to North Carolina, where the Tail of the Dragon is, and then riding that. And I think after I rode that, I turned my helmet's wired for sound, so I turned the sound off, and I spent the next 5 days riding without the radio on. So yeah, you're in your helmet, you're in your own world. You have to be hyper vigilant about what you're doing while you're riding. You can't be anywhere else. But at the same time, it turns into almost a meditation. I think that's why a lot of people ride, is because you're separated from you're in the middle of everything, but at the same time, you're in a cocoon that your helmet makes for you, or the noise makes for you, or whatever, however you like to ride. But you do have a lot of time for introspection and everything else. So, got home and, did some soul searching on the ride, and certainly having multiple near-death experiences in a week's period.
and like you said, some Lieutenant Dan moments.
Maybe I should just roll this thing out into the field and light it on fire. But, I think anytime you do something that's epic for you, it doesn't have to be somebody else's epic.
Right.
And you're there, you're in it. You're not a passenger. You're part of the experience. It'll be life-changing. It will change your perspective on things.
Years ago, I read the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Repair.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and it kind of felt like your cross country trip sort of reminded me of that. In the story, it's the dad and his son, and they're trying to work on their relationship and just sort of get out of everything in a way to kind of clear his head.
Well, in that one, he starts out crazy and finds sanity. I think I started out crazy and. Anyway, let's change the subject.
And ran out of tire.
And then, you started out crazy and then ran out of tire and had to take a break.
Yeah. It's that, I went in search of, tried to find myself, but found out I was just fine not being able to find myself. I'm good. Whoever that self is, they can go do their thing. And I honestly, and I think it's incredibly important for human beings to travel before you make up your mind about something. Do some traveling.
Yeah,
and I think you'll find that
that's
a lot of people who might disagree with you over certain things are still really wonderful people.
Yeah.
The people who took care of me on that trip, the people in the restaurants, in the gas stations, in the hotels, we're all just absolutely lovely people. And we live in a society that often looks down on the people who have those jobs.
Right.
And I was grateful every time I was, pulled up to fill up the tank and someone smiled at me and said, "Hey, I like your motorcycle," or "Hey, where are you headed to?" Every single one of those little kindnesses became a huge moment because, for the past 3 hours, I had zero input other than my own brain. Mm-hmm. So I think, and of course, traveling abroad, I think is even more important.
Yeah.
If you have the opportunity, and a lot of people don't, but if you don't have the opportunity, get out of your own hometown.
Yeah.
Go to your state's capital. Go to, the nearest museum you could find, and you'll learn.
Go get thrown out of a castle.
Really big place, but really a small place at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a really nice sentiment.
That is pretty awesome.
I really like that. Before you make up your mind, go on a trip, go travel. I really like that.
Yeah, it's an important thing. Huge. Yeah,
and then that can be for anything. Just before you decide you're going to be settled in your ways, and I think knowing a lot of guys who came from a small town or a very rural environment and spent time in the military and wound up traveling the world. None of those guys are the same. Yeah. I mean, a lot of them went back to their rural hometowns, but a lot of them had a very different attitude about the world in general. Now, some of them got really hardened by it. It's a whole different ballgame. So you never know what's going to happen when you travel. That's the cool thing.
That's my favorite part about it is and especially if you go in with no expectations.
Oh yeah,
like getting
no plans.
Yeah,
I set up hotel rooms. I know where I'm going to sleep at night. That's it.
Yeah.
Beside that, and I've done it where I didn't even know that. But on this trip, I had no idea. It's one of the weird things I saw: the death of the motor court. Oh, so sad.
That is
on all those side roads.
Yeah,
just the rotting, the old 12-room roadside motel. They're all just rotting.
The Rose Inn,
or they're just drug-addled, crash pads.
We took Route 66 to California last year when we were we rented an RV, went out there for my cousin's wedding, and we had to get off of it because it was just sad. Looking at everything, the road condition was terrible, which is one of the reasons that we got off of it. But also, all of these, what used to be these major boom towns, are just empty.
Yes.
And it's so wild.
I came through Arkansas and Oklahoma, and I think part of Texas on 47, 74 or 47. I can't remember which. It starts right below Little Rock. At where's the town that Clinton grew up in? Hot Springs, Arkansas, and just follows sort of a ridge all the way into Oklahoma and then into Texas. And that was another fun one. I'm riding on one of those roads that's so straight that you can't see the end of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I see this black and this flash. I'm like, what
Texas.
The hell is that? Think, oh crap, I'm riding into a lightning storm. Tornadoes that night. Just missed me. Slept right through them.
Dang.
Yeah, I got a lot of that from people that would travel into Texas that go, you can see so far here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
South Dakota.
Yeah.
Really?
It just blows it's almost terrifying. If you're agoraphobic, your head would explode.
Yeah.
And then I made the mistake of turning south on, I can't remember, I think it's 4 or something like that in Omaha, and it's just they space laser cut that thing. It's so straight. There's not a corner on it anywhere.
Dang.
You got to get all the way out of the state before you hit a corner. It's just, and again, it's giant hay trucks coming up behind me. I've got my poor little bike revved out, and I'm getting swallowed up by a giant hay truck. I'm wind blowing.
It sounds like.
I sit here and go, oh God. But at the same time, it was absolutely fabulous.
That's awesome.
And I think all those times that everything goes off the rails are the times that make the best stories and the best memories. But I survived that. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you get the most out of, I think, whenever you're on those trips. They make the most impression on you on the way back. Well, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the show at least a little bit. Now that we're in the 9th season, the last time we had you on, we talked about Ric Flair and the WWE. There's one episode from season 9 in particular that has really piqued my curiosity, and that's y'all's partnership with Marvel for the video game The Midnight Suns. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So that game is I think either about to be or was just released. It's really the characters in it are really cool. What was that episode like making? Because that was something that caught me totally off guard. I was like, this is our Midnight Suns episode. I was like, what? Excuse me?
So everybody's always, make this fantasy weapon, make that fantasy weapon. And my gripe with that is, you
do it.
How do you test a battle?
Right.
How do I tell you what a good battleth is? I'm not a Klingon. It's not based on anything real. I can't say, well, the real weapon that this is based on.
Right.
Hoo-ha, it's made up junk. But sorry, I know people get mad at me for calling battleths junk. But so when they came to us with when they told me we were doing this, basically they said, yeah, we're going to do this character's weapons. And then I said, well, send me a schematic of the weapons and I'll make some mock-ups. So I mocked up the weapons for real. And if they were real, they would be too heavy and bulky to wield.
Right.
So I modified them until they were real weapons. And one of them's a long sword and one of them's a shorter sword. So, I mean, for me, that was what I used to do.
Right. Yeah, that's what you were.
Somebody says, "Here's my drawing. Make it real.
Yeah.
Bring this to life." So it was a fun thing for me, other than the fact that I only had a day to make them.
Why do they always give you like no time to do it?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, this one was because this, we get 2 days off a week maybe, and
Like if I could have a full armory by Tuesday, that'd be great.
We try to have a Bible when we start the thing,
right?
But that Bible usually comes out maybe a week and a half before we're going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a week and a half to make as many of them as I can before we wind up at the studio, and then I can only work when we're not shooting because I have to use the studio as my shop.
I mean, it doesn't seem like that's a bad shop, though, all things considered. Now,
it's great. I mean, I have the same tools at home. I've got the same press. I've got a big blue. I've got, it's just it's not a bad place to work in. It's just I have to work on their schedule.
Yeah.
As in, okay, everybody's got the weekend off. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be in the shop again. Which is fine because I'd be in the shop anyway, just making something for myself. But that's beside the point. It's so I have to work on a very compressed timeline to get these things done. Oftentimes I'll show up at the crew call will be 9 o'clock. I'll show up at 6:30 so I can work for a couple hours, and then the art department yells at me because there's grinder dust all over stuff. And so you can only work for a couple hours, and then clean up for an hour before everybody else shows up.
We got an intern if you want him to start cleaning up.
Smudges of dirt under my nose or something like that. It's like, you doing black cocaine? What's going on with you?
Yes.
No, sorry. Yeah. But no, it was an interesting gig. I mean, again, making a fantasy weapon into a weapon that is wieldable, and then of course telling two contestants that now you get to try it. That's sending contestants home when occasionally they're looking at you and you just it's a deer in the headlights. They're like the 60 cycle hum. They're like, I have no idea how I'm going to make this.
Yeah.
It's sometimes the look in their eye. And all I can say is, look, I did it here. I did it in a very short time. If I can do it, you can do it.
Right.
I've seen their work, give them the best pep talk I can give them. Give them some material and send them home.
Yeah. Like how often are you doing that for the Smiths? Because this isn't just like one episode with one specific weapon that.
I try to talk to Smiths every time before they go home.
Okay. Yeah, because
I'm not always allowed to. I don't always have the time to.
Yeah.
But no, when we pull the thing away from a weapon, it's got some kind of a complex back tilt or a complex blade shape.
Mm-hmm.
I always try to either put my weapon in their hands so they get a feel of what the weight should be and where the balance should be, or at least go over them. Guys, get a plan. Figure out what you need to build on the ride home. Look at a bunch of things, but there's three things that are super important to me, which is scale, which is probably number one because it affects the other two, and then balance and weight. So if you can get the weight, the balance, and the scale of a blade right, even if it's got a questionable artistic, or questionable finish or whatever,
right,
you'll still have a very effective weapon.
Yeah,
as long as the heat treat's done right. But if you wind up with the handle too big, it's too heavy, or it's too light so it won't take the damage, or the balance point, it's super front heavy or it's super heavy in the hand. Well, all those affect how you use it. So now you've got a weapon that, regardless of how it looks, it could be the prettiest thing on the planet. It's still just a freaking wall hanger. I mean, put it, hang it above the fireplace because that's all it's good for.
Yeah.
So taking a fantasy weapon, 2 of them actually, and saying, hey, go make these fantasy weapons real. That's out of 95% of any bladesmith's normal work.
Unless you're
what I do for a living, but
yeah, right. Unless you're a prop master.
People, it's just outside the norm. I mean, it's just, most of our smiths haven't really made anything bigger than 12 inches as far as a blade length. And whether it's hunter's buoys or culinary knives, 12 inches is just about max.
Right.
On a knife that you could carry. And then, so we're getting into, we did one that was 7 feet tall. So
yeah, that's insane.
The Groot Pierre sword, that was 7 feet. I had to climb a ladder to dump it in the quench bucket.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I know. I built it by myself, and when I went to do the quench, I had 2 forges set up on one of the work tables, with about a 2-foot space in between them, so I could slide it back and forth and heat the whole thing. Got it up to temperature, and before I did that, I rehearsed the climb up the ladder like 3 times because my quench bucket was 6 feet tall.
Yeah,
good gravy.
So I had to get, to where my hand was 12 feet up, or actually 7 feet and 14 feet, so I could dip it into the dang bucket.
Good grief, man.
How was that climb?
Again, never going to do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Climbing a ladder with a red hot sword in one hand is like, no.
Well, did you hear how sneaky Dave was? Because we almost went an entire episode without him saying the words basket hilt, but he did throw it in there. He was like, if it's a complicated thing like a basket hilt, and I was like, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Well,
that melts Smith's brains.
Oh, no doubt.
You should see some of the twisted freaking things that have come back.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, they're very creative, but all right. I think we've talked about this before. If I tell you to make that,
yes,
and I put this on a stand, and you have 3 hours to make this and look at it, or 5 hours total to make this and look at it, make it, and you go, ta-da! And then go, well, what? No, it's the same. Visual perception is a weird thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've literally had a guy go, well, it looks the same to me. And you're like, dude, the blade's, an inch wider and an inch shorter, and the handle's, round and not square, and there's no guard on it.
The math tells a very different story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a real thing, and it's something that if you're going to be a professional and do recreations of knives, it's something you really have to train at. You have to sit there and go, that's the real one. I need to make that. What makes this? What are the dimensions of every piece of this, and how do I recreate those dimensions? And some people's brains just don't wrap around that. They get done and they go, I nailed it. And you go, not really. And it's not that they didn't work hard or make a good knife or anything like that. It's just that their visual perception isn't making their digits are not translating what their eyes are seeing.
Right.
Or they're just seeing something different, and, or they're crazy. I don't know. I'm never quite sure.
Yeah, I think the line between they look the same to me and that's the best I can do really comes down to how much I want to challenge the authority that's telling me that doesn't look good.
No, it looks fine.
Yeah. Like I can gaslight and be like, no, that's the same thing.
I don't see that a lot on the show. Which I think is a testament to the fact that we've tried to be really, really honest with anybody who comes on the show.
Yeah.
Is that when these guys turn in a finished product, there's only been a few times that we told them something they didn't already know.
Right.
I mean, 90% of the time they just nod their head and go, "Yep."
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you got a giant delamination here. That's not a delamination. I put that there on purpose.
Yeah, they're smiths, not mechanics. I think that's that's one of the primary differences.
Well, and early on in the first couple of seasons, we had a lot of people. Well, I like to let the metal tell me what it wants to be. Okay, well, that just means you don't really know you don't know how to manipulate the metal.
Yeah.
When you're whacking at it with a hammer and it's going all over the place. Well, that kind of looks like one of these things. I'll go that way. As opposed to having a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Mechanics are going to have a plan. And honestly, a bladesmith should have a plan. I mean, I take my scraps and I do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. But if I'm trying to make, I'm trying to make that shape knife, that's the shape I want.
Right.
And when I'm done, if it's not that shape, I'm going to throw that one in the pile and go back and make another one.
How big is your pile?
It's big.
I thought so.
Yeah.
It's a lot of practice.
If it's Damascus, I cut the pile up and I throw it in a canister and I make
and then just start over. Yeah. That makes sense.
You just press all the different patterns together and it turns into these wild patterns.
Picasso.
Some of them are ugly as hell. Some of them are neat, but it's definitely a one of a kind. It can't be duplicated.
You just send pictures to Kyle Royer and tell him to name it, and that's what you just call it from now on.
I name everything. Yeah. I'm the worst. When I bought the new motorcycles, when I bought the Springer, I came out of the shop, climb on it, put my helmet on, start the bike. It's got a great sound. It's got the little fishtail pipes on it and everything else. It's got a great sound. Start the bike up. I turn my head, the sound on in my helmet. And the first song that comes on is "Candy" by Iggy Pop.
I'm like, this is the one.
Hello. I'm like, hello, Candy. We're out of here. She's Candy now.
That's awesome, man.
The Indian got named Pearl by one of the women who worked at the Indian dealership. She said, "Oh, I just love that pearl, that white pearl finish." Hello, Pearl.
That's perfect. Well, Dave, you know that we end all of our interviews with a segment that we call Controlled Rowdiness. It is one of our favorite things to get to do with you.
All right.
These are our rapid response questions.
Wait, who am I going to piss off now?
Well, all of them. So these are just rapid response questions that you can answer with as long or as short an answer as you would like to. There are no right answers, but there are several wrong ones, so make sure not to step on those landmines. Yeah. And to get us started, we're going to send it over to you, General Grease. Let's go.
All right. David, you don't like the fight scene in Princess Bride. You don't like the weapons from Fantasy because you can't test it. What else of my favorite things would you like to take a crap on?
Do you like Star Trek?
Yes.
Star Trek is trash. look at you and me. How are we going to look in a onesie?
Not good. Not good.
We'll look like. We'll look like they're just going to put us in the kitchen.
And they gotta tuck those shirts in.
We're not going to get the cool jobs. We're not going to. No, we're big dudes. We look like a onesie, and I'm sorry, but Star Trek sucks because everything's homogenized.
I knew he was going to use the word homogenized.
It is. I mean, everybody's. We're all equal. We're not all equal. I mean, give me a break. I had to call my son to figure out how to open my phone once when it went off. Yeah, I had to use somebody else's phone to call my son to turn my phone on because he's a genius like that, and I suck. I mean,
I understand. I love it when you crap on things I like.
No, I'm serious. Watch Star Trek from the thing that if you're there now.
Oh yeah.
The only thing that sounds good is the food generator.
Dream Me is there, or fantasy TV me is there. It's the guy sitting right here.
Just
is now on. I mean,
beam you into a Starfleet
I'm
suit.
down in the engine room sucking on Romulan ale behind me. I'm the Jeffries tube getting loaded. because I'm stuck in the Jeffries tube because I'm too fat to get out of it.
Yeah. I don't think they would have a forge.
No,
I mean they have a particulator or whatever it's called. I don't know.
And the only guy with bladed weapons is they've had some fencing episodes. Riker, I think, fenced. But with little fencing foils, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. I will give it that Sulu had that neat little fold-out sword that he,
right.
Because he was too stupid and he dropped it. Put a lanyard on your phaser. Okay?
Yeah, use a phaser.
I mean, come on. How many of these drop phasers? There must be phasers sprinkled all over.
Tons of Starfleet property all over the universe.
Just all over the galaxy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right, so what is? We've talked about Willow. We've talked about how you hate Star Trek. What is your favorite fandom?
I don't hate it. It's just it's not my thing. Star Wars, give me Star Wars. There's garbage everywhere.
I love it.
You make spaceships out of trash in the Star Wars universe.
There's robots just walk around just wanting trash.
Everybody's a freaking lightsaber genius. I mean, I had this lightsaber for 20 minutes and I fight off the freaking leader of the enemy, whatever.
Which is perfect.
What can I say?
I would never retract the lightsaber.
You could have pirates there. Could you have pirates in the Star Trek universe?
No.
They've tried it. I mean, what was it? And they're like the first one. Oh, Harry Mudd.
Harry Mudd.
Remember Harry Mudd?
No.
Oh, it was from the original TV series. He was a fat pirate. He was great.
Yeah, that sounds fun. It sounds completely out of place for a space odyssey, but
yeah, it does.
Yeah, but there are robot girlfriends and stuff like that.
There are pirates in the Star Wars universe, and Hondo is their leader. And he's awesome. He's actually, when you go to one of the Disney parks, when you go on the Millennium Falcon ride, he's now the one who tells you about the smuggling run that you have to go on when you drive the Millennium Falcon.
Smugglers and pirates like that.
That's perfect.
That's good.
Not moneyless, homogenous ships. I mean, what's the point of piracy when no one has money?
Yeah, Dan.
They kind of got rid of that, didn't they? When they said we don't need money, everyone has what they need, and they just work all the time.
Real on a starship that has no money.
That's true.
That's boring.
I mean, remember when Gene Roddenberry actually pitched the show, and he said, "Yeah, we've got 500 people on a fully automated spaceship flying through space," and the other producer said, "It's fully automated." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "So why isn't it a crew of 500 people?"
That's a great question.
For when phaser blasts come through,
put data on it, let the ship go.
Yeah,
that people fall down with sparks falling.
Push it into a stun somewhere.
Who's gonna beam them up with it's all automated?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I just got a library card. True story. This last Saturday. So I want to know, what book should I go rent? What's the David Baker recommendation?
Ooh. See, the thing is, I read constantly, so I instantly forget the titles and send them back. What genre?
I really enjoy fantasy. We joked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to say it's the Dark Tower series.
Okay.
I have not read that.
And it's an old one. It's probably 80s somewhere.
Isn't that Stephen King?
Maybe.
They have a sort of a hobbitish character that is somehow related to the giants. It's
Stephen King.
God, it's been years since I read it, but the thing is, I just recently it came to mind, and I started looking for it the other day, and I haven't found it yet. So I'm probably wrong with the title.
So the Dark Tower novel series.
Yeah, it's like 3 books.
That sounds good.
If you've never read Thomas Covenant,
I have not.
oh my God! All right, read Thomas Covenant.
All right.
What is it called? Thomas Covenant.
The Thomas Covenant series, White Gold Wielder. I think
The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant.
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
He's a leper.
Really?
Just start with that.
This is the author or the character?
He's a modern leper who goes off to a fantasy realm. It's fabulous. It's great writing and great characters in a beautifully developed world.
Right.
It runs sort of everyone's sort of based off of Tolkien. He's kind of created the baseline. So you've got elves and goblins and giants, but the great storytelling.
Well, I promised to.
What's that?
I was gonna say I promised to this weekend go see if the first book of the Chronicles of Thomas Coven is in the library or buy it online.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah, do it. The other one is one I read a while ago, which is very interesting, and it's not the best science fiction, but it's a great concept. The unincorporated man.
The unincorporated man. Huh.
Yes. Somebody falls asleep in the time capsule, wakes up later. Everybody's incorporated at birth.
Right.
And you own 50% of yourself. But if you want to go to a good school, you can sell off a bit of yourself.
Oh, wow.
But then the corporation that buys you has a say in what you do until they're paid off. So they can say, well, I understand you want to be a doctor, but honestly, your test scores and everything else is sending you down this scientific road. You need to go work at this company because we own a controlling interest in you.
Yeah, we're controlling it. Yeah.
Wow. That's
so one
fascinating.
guy shows up who's unincorporated and throws a wrench into the entire.
It sounds a little like Idiocracy.
I was just thinking that.
Fascinating is the,
how come you don't have
the
a
VR
tattoo?
plagues, and I think we're headed that way. We're headed that way soon. Virtual reality becomes so good that people just live in it and then die.
Oof.
Because they don't unplug and go to the bathroom or feed themselves. They just die in virtual reality.
Enter into the metaverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's not very far-fetched.
No,
I mean,
it's really not.
Drug addiction, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you could sit there and fight dragons until suddenly you just died, cool.
There's a new Apple TV series called The Peripheral.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, that's actually it's a William Gibson book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the semi main characters is he lost his arms and his legs in battle and he gets to go into the metaverse and essentially he doesn't want to come back.
Yeah,
he ends up saying, "Hey, hook me up to
just like the guy in Avatar."
Yeah. Same concept.
Download me 100%. Yeah. There's a couple other books that follow that same idea. They just do it really well. And their explanation of the concept of a VR virus or a VR plague is really well done.
Nice. Have you ever read the Stormlight Archive, the Brandon Sanderson books?
That's what I tried to get.
Stormlight
Archive. It starts out with a book called The Way of Kings.
No.
Oh, dude, I think you would be so into it. He's a brilliant writer, and it's very like Frank Herbert-ish in the way that it just throws you into, like you just enter into this world with very little explanation, and you kind of hit the ground running. You start off in the middle of, it was so good. But yeah, Brandon Sanderson, the Stormlight Archive is what it's called, and they're phenomenal books.
That's what I tried to rent.
I think once I got out of the first Dune trilogy and into the later books, I kind of lost interest in that whole thing.
Yeah. When his son took over kind of compiling and writing, it wasn't quite the same.
That's even the later ones. Yeah, that's further along. So with all the robot wars and everything else.
Yeah, the original trilogy was phenomenal.
AI wars, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, the original trilogy of Dune was so good. And then
I think Dune 1 and 2 were great. 3, it goes down that Anne Rice kind of road where Anne Rice wrote those vampire novels, and for the first 2/3, it's fabulous, and then you sit at a dinner table and there's 8 chapters of what's going on in somebody's head. Like, oh my God! I don't care about any of this. Get me back to vampires and killing.
Yeah.
So, and I think that the third Dune book kind of did that.
Kind of did that a little bit. Yeah.
They tried to. He tried to explain what he didn't need to, which is how everything relates in this vast universe.
Right.
As opposed to sticking to the story, and I think that's a problem with the Marvel movies. Same thing. Remember when the Marvel movies they fight one guy.
Yeah.
Now Ultron. It's always the end of the planet. I mean, it's like, seriously? It's like I'm more interested in the DC guys who hang out in Hell's Kitchen
which I'm hoping with James Gunn now in charge of DC, we're gonna get a little bit more of that, which ought to be a lot of fun.
But DC is like neighborhood heroes,
right?
I mean, Batman never leaves Gotham City until it turns into until he's got to save the fucking
Justice
world,
League
and then it's all too big.
Yeah.
Then it's just how do I top this? How do I top that? How do I top
the
that?
Watchtower?
Oh God, now it's the Infinity Stone and half the planet is gone. Oh, let's bring him back. We really want to use a couple of those characters.
He who waits.
Let's bring everybody back who we negotiated a good deal with.
Robert Downey Jr. still looks pretty good.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris Pratt.
That was the old cliffhanger thing from the episodic television back in the 80s. They'd always somebody would who shot JR. Mm-hmm. Or is JR dead? It's like it was the negotiation ploy. Mm-hmm. The plane's going down. That's the cliffhanger. Let's see who wins. You're too expensive. You're too expensive.
We don't have to deal with this for a little while.
Yep.
No.
Well, our final question: what is the best Mel Brooks movie?
Yes.
I don't remember that one.
That one's a deep cut.
Yeah.
That's a hard one. That's a really hard Blazing Saddles or Young Frankenstein. Those two movies I think are the quintessential Mel Brooks movies.
Yep.
Those are the easy answers because they're clearly two of the best.
Right.
I mean, they're all
well. I mean, they're well written, they're well performed, they're well acted, they're well everything. After that, you wind up with Gene Wilder doing a lot of Wagga Wagga Look at Me stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of close-ups of Gene Wilder redoing that. I said,
yeah.
And it was great in the first two movies, or it was great in Young Frankenstein. It was very different in Blazing Saddles.
Put the candle back.
Yeah. Carrie Garr is absolutely adorable, and she's still beautiful. So I would say those two, because once you get into...
What do you think about the producers?
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, but it's completely different thing. That was a Broadway play that was turned into a... Wasn't it a Broadway play first?
I don't think so.
I think it was a play. I think it was a play first that got turned into a movie.
Yeah, I thought it was a play first that they actually made a movie out of the play. The play.
Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't think so, but that could be.
I could be completely wrong. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's
no. It was a movie that became a Broadway play, and then they remade it with Will Ferrell and.
No. Anyway, it's its own thing.
Yeah,
but I don't think it creatively.
It's not up there for you.
Or it holds up to.
Well,
I mean, it's kind of one. It's kind of one joke that just goes on forever.
Yep. Okay, so
like
it was
watching a couple hours of Andy Kaufman. It's like
I just did that recently. My wife and I, we showed my son just some good Andy Kaufman bits.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Which bit?
Oh man, a lot. It was a lot of him. Good? One of them was in character. I'm trying to remember the character's name.
Latka?
Yeah. Well, it's before he was Latka in Taxi, where he's on stage. He's telling jokes, and it's not funny, but everyone's dying laughing. But he's so committed to the role.
But the thing is what my problem with. All right, see now I'm going to piss everybody off.
Perfect. This is the best way to end the episode.
I think Andy Kaufman was genius in what he did. It's just, I think he started well, and I don't know what he was thinking. I didn't enjoy being the butt of Andy Kaufman's joke.
Yeah. That he was always messing with the audience.
Once I got it, I'm like, okay, I got it. You know your friend who just keeps pushing the joke?
Yeah.
Until you want us. Yeah. Wow. That took nothing to throw you under the bus.
But also, I know.
You had the bus started in years.
It was ready to go.
There's the special where he messes with the lines.
The idea that I think Kaufman created these fun characters. I mean, I love whatever street conga band.
Right.
Yeah.
From a TV show where he sings "It's a Small World," but these like conga guys who look like they all just got out of prison. And he's got the puffy sleeves. It was great as a gig. But then they for the next 4 shows they did it again with a different song. And you're like, okay, I got it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was a funny skit.
What's next?
Yeah,
we're done.
What's next is Tony Clifton.
Or when you do the what's his name's like doing a copy of it now. The Between Two Ferns.
Yeah. Zach Galifianakis.
He's directly copying what's his name's Andy Kaufman's interview show.
Mm-hmm.
Where he doesn't know who he's interviewing and he doesn't have good questions.
He's kind of a villain.
Notes, and he sits there and he says something stupid and then he waits and he waits and he waits.
Yep.
But he did it for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is the primary difference.
I mean, he did it straight up for real with these people, and people got pissed off. And I think that's how he got punched in the head once.
That and from Wrestling Women.
It's all brilliant stuff.
It's experimental. It's interesting, but at the same time, I 30 minutes into Andy Kaufman, I want to choke him to death.
Well, as our final word for the evening, Dave, where can our audience find you? And is it true that if I want a Baker blade for Christmas, that there's a way that I can get one?
Man, I don't know if I'm going to make it by Christmas. I'm making. I've put out some designed and had manufactured for me a bunch of blades. So basically, they're cut and they're tempered. I do all the grinding and handle management myself. But I'll be putting up a website soon. It's Baker Blades USA. It's not up yet. It'll probably be a couple of weeks before it is. Basically, I am a Luddite, though I am trying to build a website. I'll turn it over to somebody else who will then clean it, tweak it, and make it work properly before it goes out.
Awesome.
My spelling is atrocious. My punctuation is worse. But so there's that. So yes, I will be selling blades. I'll also let you guys know, though I don't have a contract in my hand, I was contacted about when does this air?
This will be out in a couple of weeks.
Okay, a couple of weeks. I was contacted about a 10th season.
Ooh. Oh, hey now.
I don't have a contract in my hand. I don't have a signed contract saying, "Hey, you start on this day." But as far as I know, the wheels are turning on season 10.
That's awesome.
So you guys are the first people who have been told.
That makes me so happy.
That's a wonderful teaser.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing.
Look, I'm excited, and I have a huge goal, and I hope you guys will help me with this. Forge and Fire has a wonderful, loyal audience that has kept us, at the top of our time slot or in the top 3 or 4 of our time slot for the past 7 years. But I got to get it to a new audience. We need to introduce it to people because the network doesn't really advertise off the network.
Sure.
I mean, cool. If you watch History Channel, you already know we're there. So my biggest goal this season is to get the fact that we're on the air, that the show that's the nicest, meanest competition show on TV, get that to a whole new market, a whole new group of people who've never seen it.
Well, I will start telling my Zumba class about you, and we'll see whether or not we can make that happen.
and we promised to make Camden watch it.
Yes.
Perfect.
We're right on, Dave. Well, hey, man, thanks so much for the time. You're a pleasure, as always.
Fun. It's always fun talking to you.
David freaking Baker. Time number 4.
Man, it's always so cool, and I always have a little mini panic attack when he comes on screen.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, David Baker's here.
And it's one of those things where, like, okay, he starts talking about this, And we have a structure, like we've got questions. People don't know this. We actually prepare for these shows.
Yeah.
You may not be able to tell by listening to it.
No,
but
we
actually do.
We game plan. We come up
But
with some ideas.
as soon as he starts talking about something, I immediately am like, oh, this is something I want to know more about.
He's always prepared to with surprising, insight. Like
like decentralized nervous system.
Yeah, in the Princess Bride, where he says, I don't know, it was a Gilder reference. So I go, no way.
Yep.
This guy likes Princess Bride. Well, I don't like the fight. Oh, no.
It's heartbreaking. Well, thanks, Dave, once again for coming on the show. Thanks you guys for watching. I know this was a longer episode, but this is so much fun to get an opportunity to chat with Dave. Make sure that you check out Baker Blades USA in the show notes, as the site will be coming up in a few weeks. He doesn't know if he's going to have stuff ready for Christmas, but there are David Baker blades, which you can now own, which I think is
I'm
one of the
interested in his pile
coolest
of
things.
blades, too.
Yeah, that just stack.
Yeah.
He invited us to come out. We just got to pick a date.
I know.
And we can just take up stuff from the pile and make our own billet. Which would be, that's Baby Levi's billet blade, along with Ben Abbott's baby billet. Just right all there together. Thanks a lot, Dave, for coming. Thank you guys for watching. Y'all stay hard, keep jamming, and we'll see ya.
Hey, this is Dave Baker, and the reason you should never listen to the Reverend and the Reprobate is they've had me back 4 times. I know bars that haven't had me back 4 times. I'm good.
Okay.
Hugh Camden.
Was that Camden?
Yeah.
Get your phone off the table with the microphone, Camden.
I moved
Camden, what are you new? Oh, yeah, wait.